Guess who got brands talking? Brandlife.co.za.
Good morning, it's Mitch Mottian on this fantastic morning, albeit one of the producers says, this is a European morning, it's not summer in SA. Well, we will get there. I can promise that we do have content to warm everyone's heart. All right, so welcome to a twist in the yarn. Yes, adjust your clocks. It is Thursday, 11:30, and it's a beautiful day out here at the Brand Live studio, at the Melville studio at 27 Boxes. Guys, you need to make an appearance out here. We are having 2 Xmas markets. Yes, that's 2, a follow-on. There will be one on the 8th, and then the follow-on will be on the 15th of December. Do come along, even if it's for your last-minute shopping. All right, so that is part of the admin I need to do. The discussion today, and it is a trilogy, so it follows on from the first 2 discussions or narratives around the quirky, creative locations or suburbs. You may recall we started off with Sophia Town. Subsequently, we did the Cater Manor in Durban. And then today, of course, it makes good sense to go full circle. And full circle will end up in the mother town, right? The mother city. Yes. So today, the narrative will be on District 6, a chaotic tapestry of the area that's woven into a golden thread by its community. I like that. You also see the nuance and the feeling I put in terms of the tapestry, the threads, and all that ties well in my title of my little gab, a twist in the yarn. Now, I'd like to commence this narrative with a little reading from Don Pinnock. He's one of the authorities on District 6 and also an academic and poet and journalist, the old tootie out there. And the one I've selected, it actually makes a lot of sense, and I'm hoping that you will also feel the transition and apply it, enjoy it. And if need be, if you need to shed tears, then so be it. This is life, this is real, and my show is a lifestyle show. So here goes. Don penned this extract, and it's called To Be a Somebody. And you know, everybody wants to be a somebody. And it's probing the roots of community in District 6. In the way that elephants gather in places where one of them once died, thoughtfully fondling the bones of the departed, I sometimes go to the empty fields of District 6 and Park. Waiting for the full moon to rise, I always leave feeling melancholy. It is strange that, in such a rapidly expanding and infilling city such as Cape Town, this space has remained largely unoccupied for nearly half a century. Yes, there have been bureaucratic reasons for this, land claim delays and squabbles, but this hardly explains the city's sustained unwillingness or inability to repeople the area. Something else is at work here. The collective memory of an outrage done to a socially cohesive community, perhaps, or maybe a sadness of what cannot come back to life or be regained for District 6's descendants, now scattered in the stark tenements and dangerous, still racial ghettos of the Cape Flats. Woven into the chaotic tapestry of the area seems to have been the golden threads of a community that once had been unraveled, and nobody seems willing to reweave, lest their hearts be broken yet again by the impossibility. Where District 6 once stood has to be considered to some degree to become holy ground, a treeless, wind-blown monument to a lost community. What was this thing called community? The history of a city is the story of its neighborhoods. Each has a zeitgeist, an unidentifiable personality. They all look and feel distinct from one another and have the persistence over generations. Explaining this zeitgeist is difficult because it comprises many things. The type of buildings, the width of streets, the presence or the absence of gates and walls, greenery or lack of it, street lighting or lighting, how people dress, who is hanging out, the friendliness, the indifference or fear of people, the smell of cooking, rubbish or garden flowers, and the types of cars. The most important ungirding of neighborhood zeitgeist is the degree of social efficacy. Some poignant lines there, the important thing to reflect on. Whilst we're doing that, let's ask Andile to help us get into the mood. What do you say, Andile? Yes, guys, I hope I've hit some strain there. When you heard the opening chords, that was something instantly recognizable. Yes, but I think I've caused some confusion there, because you were waiting for the piano chords of Menenberg. But who comes up? Jonathan Butler, born and bred in Athlone, and he's, of course, one of the mother city's finest musical exports. And yes, he was doing a tribute to Abdullah Ibrahim and the National Treasure song, which is Menenberg. Jonathan Butler decided to have a go at it. And I just thought, in lieu of confinements of space, let me throw in a classic tune that everybody will relate to when you talk about District 6 or Cape Flats, and that's Manenberg. And then the two names that will come up, of course, is Butler and Abdullah Ibrahim. All right, so that was really an upbeat tune. Of course, that was composed in the early 1970s. And, that was played when Abdullah Ibrahim still went under the name of Dollar Brand. So, change of names as well. Change of names, change of cultures. All right, talking about cultures and community, I opened up the discussion with Don Pinnock and the aspect of the community, what is a community, how it's a moving target, and so forth. District 6, and I think I always stress with the other programs that we've discussed with Cato Manor and with Sophia Town, it all has this romantic notion. It is all painted with romance, and people will yearn for being back there. That's true. Then that is one side of the flip coin, right? The other side is the trauma, the drama, the pain, the overcrowdedness, the difficulty in living in areas that were really messed out and messed up. So that is what we're going to go into. All right, so District 6 was actually built over time and in waves and layers. It was originally farmland on the lower slopes of the Table Mountain and first settled by the Europeans attached to the DEIC. Hey guys, you remember that? Go back to your history lesson. DEIC? Yes, the Dutch East India Company. You see, then, as far as back to the 1600s, we were a global nation, eh? Global nation. Of course, then in the early 19th century, the District 6 expanded and rapidly became one of Cape Town's growing middle class, and it began to attract the modest homes themselves for the colored community. You had the wealthier merchants and officials, clerks, assistants, and of course a middle-income community. Things began to happen. Things were building up. And of course, without going too much into detail, I'm trying to just savor certain aspects for you. So initially, the larger colored working class migrated into the city, and they undertaken to do menial jobs and of course they were coming from surrounding farms and villages. So as the transition from a farming economy to an industrial one gathered pace and momentum, it became a one-way flow of whole families. So by the 1920s, you had quite a formidable number of populace in District 6. And as people are wont to tell you, children were growing up and marrying and in turn having friends and children in their homes. So at any given stage, in a little house that had a bedroom, living room, kitchen, passage, and a garage, and a stoop, you'll find people lounging and sleeping almost everywhere. So that's how it was. It was a thriving, it was really a burgeoning area / suburb / location. Now, one thing that always comes to mind is that when you're speaking of District 6, they'll say, yes, the fantastic musicals, the amazing musicians, and the rife gangsterism. That's true. Gangsterism is, sadly to say, quite synonymous with Cape Town. And of course, it comes with the urban decay. So social structures that dissolve the glue of community. But what is generally missed in this representation is that they are at the same time the outcome of social ordering within the environment in which they exist. So in the context of crowding, joblessness, and low income, they are a response by young people attempting to make a sense of the space within the neighborhood. Within certain contexts where informal surveillance isn't placed, backed by strong community disapproval of the behaviors, gangs, oddly enough, can have the same function as a sport or cultural activity, where adolescent approval can be won, and when social controls weaken or are absent, gang activity generally becomes predatory, destructive to both its members and its community. There's a terrific, or should I use proper syntax and the language of the locals, there's a lekker story here about the Globe Gang. But before we go into the Globe Gang, let me whet your appetite. Let's talk and let's jive. Maybe do a little Kailicha dance. Andipe? I think I have the name right this time. Andipe, shall we do a little Kailicha dance? Get Basil Kutsir and his band Sabenza in? All right. On your cue, Andipe. Hit it. Basil, my apologies there, but I do need to talk over your luscious rhythms. Time, once again, is not on my side. So we were talking about the globe gangs, and I think this is it warrants sufficient time to talk about it. So a member of the Globe Gang once said that the fraternity behind the Globe Gang, they hated the Scully element that had started to come into the district. Now the Scully is basically, as we say up here in Joburg, the Sotsi or the ruffians, the gangsters. And these people, the Scullies, they basically were going into crowds and on beautiful days and robbing people. And at the end of the day, the Globe was considered essentially an organized vigilante extension, or let's put it, an extended family network. And according to a close associate of the time, the Globe respected each other and their families and so on. There were only a few who smoked pot and really got geseip, but never the top dogs. They always tried to do things that wouldn't bring a scratch to the good family name. You know, all these people I'm talking about are wealthy business people today. Of course, they were decent and well-bred guys. And all the parents were well-to-do businessmen with flashy cars and good clothes. And the leaders were always beautifully attired. There's a guy called Mickey, who then had silk shirts made for him. And he drove around in lovely cars, and he had the choice of marvelous women. So all these romantic stories will come into it. The dark side is when the Scully element started filtering into the gang that actually resented it. So can you see how the dynamics of social activity and community changes? So then slowly there became a Scully element, and apparently there was a guy, and I think people can relate to the name. He was from the Porterhouse Reformatory, and he went by the name of Chicken. Yes, I remember every community had a chicken or a bones. And then the prisoners from upcountry who had never been to the cities, they come through and they were convicted for rape and murder. And the distinguishing factor is that they had the tattoos, these ghastly tattoos that they had done in the jails. And these tattoos marked the faces and necks. And people knew who they were. They were the gangs from the Bun Boys, the Stalach 17s, the Doolins, the Mongrels, the Born Frees. Oh, you name it. There was a gang there. Now, in a tough society like District 6, you need to survive. And one of the means of surviving is that you need to have your survival skills. You can either talk things out, or you can fight or flight. That's the true, but the sad part. And on that note, there's a terrific song I have. I did some research and I pulled it out from one of the Mother City's iconic plays. And that was called District 6, the musical. Yes, I'm referring to David Kramer here with Tully Peterson. And this song, what I'm about to play, it's about a little fellow that leaves home. And his life turns sour And the reality of it, it still does until today. So, without further ado, this song is called Me Bruci, Me Bra. And deeper?
La la, ooh la la. La la, ooh la la. He never knew his dadda. Ooh la la. His mama never kissed him. Ooh la la. No one ever loved him. No one ever missed him. Me Bruci, me bra. Bruci, me bra. Only 9 years old. Ran away from home. Struggles on his own. Outside in the cold. Ran away from home. Struggles on his own. Outside in the cold. He's sleeping on the sidewalk. He's dodging through the cars. Pickpocketing drunkards as they stumble from the bars. Scrounging for food like the dust and dog, dancing on the white lines, trying to sell the headlines in the early morning fog. Dancing on the white lines, trying to sell the headlines in the early morning fog. But when it's Christmas time and New Year, and everything is ready, to switch the lights on and decorate the city. Food is played in windows and shops are filled with toys. Underneath the Father Christmas.
Doesn't it remind you of the soft shoes? Your slick back hair all greased back, doing the doo-wah, doo-wah? Yes, that was District 6, the musical. And of course, David Kramer and Talib Peterson, they are monuments out in Cape Town, and of course, as a South African export. So this fine-grained lattice of community enterprise was noticed by journalist Brian Barrow. And he says, at the height of District 6, he says this place has more barbershops to the acre than anywhere else in Africa. Oh, Brian, you haven't been to Fordsburg, bro. And he says there are tailors by the score, herbalists, butchers, grocers, tattoo artists, cinemas, bars, quaint little houses with the names like Buzz Off, Why Worry? And there's a magnificent range of spice smells from the curry shops. The vitality and the variety in the place seems endless, and the good humor of the people is inexhaustible. Anything could happen and everyone in N would laugh about it. So if you go into one of the fruit and veggie shops, and you soon realize how the very poor manage to live. In these shops, people can still buy something useful for a 1 rand. They can buy 1 potato. If that is all they can afford at the moment, so be it. Or 1 cigarette. And you can hear them ask for an olap patiselle. That's like a penny's worth of parsley. Or a tikkie tamatis. Or a tikkie swartbekkies. That's black-eyed beans. Or a 6-pence soup greens. Or an olap knoffelok. I like that, knoffelok, which is garlic. But the best is, gee me an olap broos, which means a penny's worth of bruised fruit. Fabulous. Don't you love the language? Now, the area's rich social fabric had an unintended function as well. Not only did it provide the possibilities of roof and income, it also fostered networks of social control. And I'm hoping that guys from the townships can relate to this. On the district's many shallow verandas, you'll find grandparents sitting around gossiping and watching. Because then effective policing was lacking. So you needed some surveillance, which was beneficial to the community, to keep things safe, as they say. So the interconnectedness and the effective means of policing was done by the grandparents. So Brian goes further on to say, when he was 15 or 16, and if he did anything rude or off-handed in the street, like going to a bar or smoking or taking a dame out, you'd get a puck. That's a hiding at night. And their parents knew about it right away. It was the old men who used to stand at the corners chatting or sitting at the stoops. They'd be pretending to be reading the Quran or a comic or playing a game or whatever. But out of the corner of their eyes, they were really watching you. So that it was the real surveillance out in the community. Now I'm sure, with children everywhere shouting, laughing, whistling, teasing, darting between old men's legs, running between fast-moving buses and cars and missing them by inches with perfect judgment. Poor underfed children, but cheeky, confident and happy, and so emotionally secure in the bosom of the sordid surroundings. Everyone loved them. To them, it seemed every adult on those busy streets was another mother and another father. Right. That's a good insight into the commonplace cultural activities of District 6. And to this end, I'd like some help from Bra Robbie Jansen. And this is actually a poignant tune. It is a requiem for Grassy Park. Why a requiem? Well, listen through and you'll understand and maybe relate. Antipe? There's only one person who can blow the horn like that, and that's the late Robbie Jansen and the Sons of Table Mountain, Requiem for Grassy Park. Well, the Requiem for Grassy Park was, yes, I didn't want to go there, but we had to. Of course, in the 1950s, it was bulldozer time again. The removal of the people of the land and making place for the white people. So the Group Areas Act once again affected the entire nation. But let's end on something more joyous. When I talk Pacific Express, yes, the name that comes to mind is Zane Adams. And we will now end the show with one of the greatest exports on the pop scene from South Africa to the world, Zane Adams on Give a Little Love. Adios, amigos.
Wonder how you are. I love you. Oh, how I miss you. 'Cause you're my way of life. Can't forget how you looked when we fell in love the first time. Won't you give a little love this time? Hold me in your loving arms this time. Oh, how I need looking back in time, I see you. It's only daydreams, 'cause you're my way of life. Oh, how can I see the sun when you're not around anymore? Won't you give a little love this time? Hold me in your loving arms this time. Oh, how I need you here today, 'cause yesterday's gone away. Won't you give a little love this time? Hold me in your loving arms this time. Oh, how I need you here today, 'cause yesterday's gone away. Won't you give a little love this time? Hold me in your loving arms this time. Oh, how I need you here today, 'cause yesterday's gone away. Won't you give a little love this time?
Harnessing the power of talk radio. brandlive.co.za